And hello, everybody. It's Liquid Lunch coming at you live. Now, let's see, what's today? The 27th of June. Is that right, Donna?
That's right.
Good. Okay, I'm going to write that down. That way I won't forget. June 27th.
That's why I have my Moleskine agenda book. It helps me remember the days.
What do you have?
A Moleskine agenda book.
A Moleskine?
Moleskine.
What does that mean? I've never heard that word before.
You can get them at Indigo.
I can't even imagine how to spell that.
You can get them at lots of different places, like Wolfit's Art Supply too and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, Moleskine. Like mole and then S-K-I-N-E.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very helpful. The computer helps too, to know what day it is. And you just better hope it's working.
Yeah, that's right. Because if the computer goes down, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I know.
If the internet ever goes down,
I know.
Or if we get one of those, EMPs, those electromagnetic pulse things, it's going to turn everything off. We're going to lose everything.
Exactly.
It's going to be worse than burning the library at Alexandria. It's going to be worse than that. Right?
Well, it would be. It would be.
Okay, Donna, anyway, great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
So what are we doing today? You brought a whole bunch of people.
Yes.
Some of them we can see behind you.
Exactly.
But what are we doing today exactly?
Well, I'm teaching a course called Self-Publishing Around the World at University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies.
Right.
And this course helps people to get started, if not even finish, a book that they can then self-publish. So I have 4 people in the class, and they're all here today, and they'll be talking about their books as well as a bit about their lives. And I'll actually, thanks to Hugh, I'll be doing some co-hosting as well, asking each of my students, who I'm learning a lot from myself, questions. And so without turning my back, we have Marion Gold that's going to be on.
Yes.
We have Kitty Salzberg that'll be on. We have Teresa madaleno-long. Teresa, did I say your name properly?
Close enough.
I'd say it right for me. Madaleno-long. So it's Teresa Madaleno-long, and also Merlin Charles, or Dr. Merlin Charles. So you're going to be finding out a lot of really interesting things about all 4 of them, and they're really fascinating people themselves. So
fantastic. So and I guess they're all writing books, or are they finished?
Yes, they are. They're all writing books.
I should take your course.
They're sure, you really should. And it's starting up again September 19th, and it'll end July 11th, and then I get the summer off. We all get the summer off, but some of us are, like Merlin's going to be traveling, but she'll be talking about that. Like everybody's going to be doing different things, and then the course starts up again September 19th. So until November 11th, I believe it is.
Okay,
or 12th, November 11th through 12th,
all
or
right,
21st, or something like that.
Let's talk about, because before we get you in the co-host seat, before we get some of your budding young authors on the show.
Yes.
Let's talk about why anybody would want to write a book, or why anybody out there who's contemplating writing a book should maybe attend your class rather than just tell themselves, I'm going to write a book.
Exactly.
Because we know it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Unless they learn how to do it properly, right?
Well, this is the thing. A lot of people, they can really use the discipline and the structure to be able to be in a course that tells them that I will definitely commit to 10 weeks of working on developing a book. And part of what I require for my course is that each student writes 20 pages per week, and they can definitely write more. Like in one situation, Merlin actually handed in 50 pages for a week. All of the students have handed in well over 20 pages at any given time. Every single student has. The 10th week is kind of like a wild card. They can hand in work, or they don't have to hand in work. For sure, this encourages people to write, encourages people to have a chance to get their work critiqued as well. I'm a member of the Editors Association of Canada, so I can actually offer advice advice on how to edit in a variety of formats, like if it's an academic format, American Psychological Association format, or for more literary work, Chicago Manual of Style, these types of things. So I can offer those services.
What are those different kinds of
writing styles? Exactly, to make sure it adheres to the editorial rigor that's needed to make sure that a piece of work is written the way it should be. Like literary work should be always like Chicago Manual of Style and
except for the fact that sometimes people break the rules and by doing so invent whole new ways of writing. I'm thinking about William S. Burroughs. I think somebody, I forget who, maybe Hemingway or something, when he took a look at William S. Burroughs' writing, he said, that's not writing, that's typing.
Yeah, exactly. But William S. Burroughs was also kind of famous enough that he was able to get away with doing that, right?
You know why? I mean, he was lucky because his family was the Burroughs computer family, so he didn't have to work. So he could just mess around all day and type away. And maybe one day, it was like those, the monkeys. How many monkeys will it take to write a Shakespearean sonnet?
Exactly.
I got something over here.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing about writing a lot these days, is that there was the days when a lot of writers were able to make a very good living. People like Ernest Hemingway. He was able to make quite a good living from working full-time as a writer. And that's not necessarily the case anymore. A lot of writers have to have supplemental income, do other things. Self-publishing allows the opportunity to make it possible to make a high royalty base, more so than traditional publishing. Sometimes it can be even as high as 8 times more, the royalties, compared to self-publishing when you compare it to traditional publishing. So you can actually make some good residual income, maybe even turn a business into it. And also, I was just reading in The Guardian just yesterday, actually, that a lot of seniors are now starting to turn to self-publishing too, as a way of putting down their memoirs, telling their stories. So, yeah.
But it just seems, I'm almost thinking about it, it seems that there's this huge boom in writing, right? And at the same time that there's that people are stopping reading. Some people do read. Some people actually do read. It's just the way they're reading may be changing. E-readers are still selling really quite well, and it seems like I've even made a lot of appearances to Indigo Bookstore. I'll be making another one on August 24th at the Eaton Center, and returning to the Bay and Bloor Indigo Bookstore on November 9th for a writing workshop with colleagues of mine with the School of Continuing Studies. And the bookstores are not ever empty. They're not ever completely empty. That's because you can get coffee there now.
No, but people will read. People will read, A lot of people are starting to realize that a lot of times reading is a far more constructive thing than doing, compared to smoking, compared to watching TV, compared to a lot of other things they could be doing, right? So it's a lot more constructive and better for the mind.
But really, but I don't know. Do you know, because you hear that people are not reading as much as they used to, or that their attention spans are shorter,
but that's not necessarily everybody. And then also too, we have to remember that especially in a country like Canada, the population is getting either really old or really young. Like there's the people in between, like about my age, like I'm turning 41 in August. Like my age group is not necessarily the majority of the population in Canada. It's either really old or it's really young. And young people are trying really, really hard to make sure that they can learn how to write. And somebody like Kitty Salzberg is actually even writing a children's book, who's here today. And then the really older people, like they still read. They still read. They're still from that tradition of reading. You will see them in the bookstores. They're there. They're buying the books. They're there. They're engaged. They're engaged in the written word. So I don't think it may not not be as much as it was before, like, especially before the internet, before the video games, before some of these other things that kind of compete for attention for books. But certainly, by no means is it going to die. It's not going to die.
Well, you're probably right, because I'm thinking about, I remember when computers first came out, they said that the offices will be paperless. There'll be no paper in offices. It'll all be electronic. And I think we've got more paper
there
than ever.
There actually is more paper
offices,
ever now. And speaking of some paper,
you got paper.
These are the 2 books that are the required books for my course, Self-Publishing Around the World. And also the School of Continuing Studies has a number of other courses that they offer as well. And it's possible to do, like, mine's an elective course, but it's possible to do a creative writing certificate through the creative writing program at the School of Continuing Studies at University of Toronto. So my course can be taken as an elective, other courses can be taken too. So you can actually work towards a certificate. So this is an educational thing. And then all University of Toronto students who have just graduated, like in Merlin's case, for example, they get a credit where they're able to take the course as part of graduating, and the cost of the course is waived.
Okay, that's good. So let's see what these books are here. You didn't. Okay, so here's one. This is how to talk to crazy people. You know all about this book.
You know all about that book. Yes.
That's the one that you wrote.
Yes, that's the one I wrote. So that's part of the required text.
Now, why is this required? I mean, I can imagine.
It's just required as an example of a self-published book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then this one, how to write creative nonfiction.
It's got some exercises in it. Teresa madaleno-long.
And you wrote this book too.
I wrote that book too, yes.
Because you're so prolific.
Well, I don't know, but Teresa madaleno-long has been very, very good about doing the exercises in this book. She's actually going to do more. There may be her second book coming up, even from the exercises in this book. Who knows? We'll see, Teresa. It's got a lot of exercises in it that kind of make, it's like exercising the body, right? So you start exercising the writing muscle, you get better.
Okay. And I'm just thinking, the internet's changed everything, or a lot of things. It's changed the music industry, and I think it's changed the publishing industry too, because it's almost like, why would you even approach a publisher now as a writer, or as a new writer, versus why wouldn't you self-publish? Because you get to keep more money, probably, if you can market the book yourself, and you've got the social media tools to help do that. I mean, does it make any sense to even think about approaching a traditional publisher?
Well, I would think that if you can get a contract with Nom for Random House or Penguin or HarperCollins
for 6 figures,
McClellan and Stewart, et cetera, even Arsenal Paul Press is a very reputable press. Like, if you can get a contract with even Insomniac Press, if you can get a good deal with some of these really, really big presses, and I'm mainly referring to Canadian presses, but I mean, there are a number of wonderful presses all over the world, those the big guys and girls, right? So if you can get a contract with one of the big guys and girls, then go right ahead. You're probably doing yourself a favor, because I mean, it does require a lot of hustling when you self-publish a book, you know? So I mean, you're the one going out there booking appearances. Like, I'm going to be at Mad Pride 2013. I'll be a roaming vendor for the Caravana Parade. I'm paying for these things out of pocket and taking the risk and hoping that I'll be able to make some money when I go to these things. I'll be at the Word on the Street. I'll be at the Simply People Festival. Like, all these different events. Like, you're setting these things up, and you're hoping that you're going to be able to get a profit from what you've invested into it. And some things, like even Afrofest, I really want to be at Afrofest, but it was too rich for my blood. Like I can't afford to pay what it is, the cost of a vendor's fee, and think that I'm going to get my money back from an event like that. So, but if I was with Nom for something like that, then certainly, like, you know, I mean, what seems to me like a lot of money is nothing to them, right? So I mean, they make that probably in a minute in like one person's book sales, right? So
sure. So I just want to ask you a couple of other quick questions about the course specifically, because you've touched upon here that there's, you know, different ways to market the book, and you kind of have to take responsibility for doing that if you're going to write the book. So I'm curious, does the course, it helps you write, it provides the discipline to help you write according to these different style templates or whatever, but does it help, do you offer help with the marketing and with the other things you need to know? Well,
yes, I offer a lot of concrete good ideas. There's the option to do a business plan. These are things I can ask the 4 students and ask them what are some of the things they feel they've learned, and I'm always giving them new news and views and different books about writing and information about the world of self-publishing, basically. So self-publishing around the world. So the world of self-publishing, how to work with different platforms, everything from Lulu to Amazon to Kobo to Smashwords, you know, these types of things. So yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like anybody that's thinking even about writing a book should probably take your course if they're in Toronto.
Definitely. I think they'd find it handy. And like, considering that I've been in self-publishing since 2006, and Lulu itself is one of the oldest self-publisher platforms on the internet, and it's been around since 2002. I'm only about 4 years behind. So, you know, it's and actually I started self-publishing even in 1999 when I graduated from my master's degree, and I just bound my master's. I made about 5 copies, sold 3 of them. So, you know, so it's, you know, I mean, self-publishing really has been around since like the very first English writers, you know, so that's what they started doing. They were self-publishing, you know, so I mean, way before the printing press. So now everything's just coming full circle.
All right. Okay, good. So, well, we're looking forward to meeting all of your authors and
really
having
love them. You're
great,
gonna really love them.
Fun conversations with them.
You're gonna really love them.
Find out what their books are about.
Yeah, they're fantastic people. I really lucked out with every single one of them.
Okay, so why don't we? We're gonna have Teresa up first, right?
Oh yes.
So.
And Teresa has 18 years of experiences. Just to give her a bit of an introduction, 18 years of experience as a broadcaster, and she's worked for just about every broadcaster in. She has worked for every broadcaster in Canada, and
even that radio, that FM radio station in Swift Current.
What's that? I mean, every major.
I'm just joking around, Donna.
No slights.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I'm looking forward to chatting with her. So, why don't we take a little break and we'll get Teresa in that chair, and we'll get you over in the guest host chair.
Okay, sounds great.
And I've got a video here, and. It's kind of what I was talking about when I was joking around about the monkeys and the Shakespeare.
Okay.
So let's play this, and then we're going to come back with Teresa Madaleno-Long as Liquid Lunch gets underway. We'll be right back.
In a number of mathematics books, they made reference to something that either proves infinity or the law of probability. They claim that if you take an infinite number of monkeys and an infinite number of typewriters, and you set them down, and they just type away, that eventually, given enough time, they would type all the great books. Yes. Now, they're going to type a lot of gibberish, but eventually they will type all the great books. Now, if they ever tried this, they would have to hire guys, you know, to check the monkeys to see if they were turning out anything worthwhile. So, I would like to present a day in the life of one of these monitors. Harry, I'm going to check post 14, see if he's got anything. Oh boy. I don't think that poor devil's ever going to write anything, you know that? Hey, hold on. Post 15 here has something. I think this is famous or something. To be or not to be, that is the Gazornenplatte.
And we're back here on the show. That was a little Bob Newhart, An Infinite Number of Monkeys.
I remember Bob Newhart.
Do you remember?
I do. I remember Bob Newhart. I loved Bob Newhart. He passed away, didn't he?
I don't know.
No, I'm almost sure he did.
I don't know.
Wow.
We're going to need to do some fact checking on that. Bob, if you're
Yeah.
alive, we're sorry, but you know.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, if you're alive, yeah, very sorry. But I'm almost sure he did pass away.
He was on an episode of Big Bang Theory recently, so.
Oh, maybe he is.
Although that
still
could have been a
alive.
repeat.
It could have been.
Oh.
Or maybe it was a holographic Bob Newhart, because they can do that now, right? With the holograms.
I don't watch often, so it could have been a repeat, yes.
Okay. Well, that's Teresa Madaleno-Long, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So,
Now, okay, so now Donna taught you in the course, and so
still teaching.
and you've got a background in journalism.
Yes.
She went to Humber.
Many years ago.
to,
Many years
you mean to
ago.
study journalism?
Yes.
And then you got into journalism.
Yes.
So who did you work for? Just curious.
Well, I started out at what now is known as CTV2 in Barrie, spent many years there. And then I went on to work at Global and CTV. When I was tired of that, we'll say, I went and I taught postgraduate journalism at the community college level for a few years. And now I do freelance writing, mostly for magazines. So I'm dabbling a little bit in journalism still, and I also do media consulting.
Okay, so when you were in the media business, because you're writing now, you're a writer,
Yes.
writing for magazines and that sort of thing. But were you always a writer, even when you were working in TV, or were you on camera? Or?
I was on camera. I was a
Okay.
reporter.
All right. Okay.
So always a writer.
But you had
My
to write that
career-
anyway. You have to write
Yes.
to be doing
Yes,
that
I was
anyway.
interviewing and writing
Yeah.
and on air.
And how did you, just curious, how did you find working in that whole news, TV news environment?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. It's a very different environment. It is a lifestyle, not a job. And that's one of the reasons I left it. I had a daughter, and it's not a 9-to-5 job, as you probably know, and Donna knows.
Why? Because they send you out on assignment and stuff like that? Is that why?
Well, they send you out on assignment. They expect you to work 22 days straight. They expect you to work very long hours.
Yeah.
News doesn't happen when you want it to. News happens 24/7.
Yeah.
So I decided that I wanted to continue in the field somehow, but I also wanted to have a life with my daughter. A lot of my friends in the business were getting nannies and live-ins to help them raise their children, but that's not what my husband and I wanted. It's not the kind of lifestyle we wanted. There's nothing wrong with that lifestyle, but it's just not what we wanted for our family. So I decided that I wanted to be able to take the skills that I had used over those 15 plus years as a reporter, as a writer, and use them in some other way. I miss the business to this day, but I'm still able to use the skills that I love, which are researching, writing, interviewing people, and I apply those to my magazine writing, and also I do corporate writing. And when I say media consulting, it basically means public relations. I represent many different companies and help them with their communications issues.
Okay. So now I'm thinking, as a writer, a professional journalist and writer, that if you wanted to write a book, you could just write a book. But you took the course with Donna, and I'm just curious, first, why you felt you needed, with all that experience, to take the course with Donna at U of T.
Two reasons, really, Hugh. One being that writing for journalists journalism, and writing for corporations is a totally different style, and I think Donna touched on that earlier. For example, Chicago-style writing, I've never done before. I was accustomed to CP-style writing. And Donna's shaking her head because she started out doing CP-style writing, and then when she became an author, she had to switch to Chicago-style writing.
Wait, what's CP style?
CP style, that's the style that the Toronto Star uses.
What does that mean, though? Canadian Press?
Star, like it has like certain rules, like such as numbers that are from 0
through 9
to 9 should be written out. Numbers 10 and above should be digits.
That's what
right?
I do. That's the rule I use.
Yeah. So it's that kind of thing where, say, Chicago Manual of Style believes that all numbers should be written out. So say, for example, it's 5060 or something like that. That's exactly how you write it.
No.
You write it out.
They're wrong. Those people in Chicago, they need to get hip to the new
it's not that they're
realities.
wrong. It's just that it's a certain style. It's a more literary style, right? So it's a style that's easier to read, right? So, and it looks better in printed format in the text of a book, and it does. It really does. Like, it really does. It looks, it's the appearance and the style, which is why it's called style. It's no different than what somebody puts on their body. It's a style, right? So, and it's a way of manipulating words so that they look the best in print, right? And some people are really fastidious about these things, you know? Like, there are people that will read a book, and like, if they see it doesn't adhere to like a certain kind of style it's supposed to, or it's mixing up different styles, they will not even want to read it.
Okay, interesting. And how do you feel about that?
And it makes it hard to win competitions and such things, like, you know, these types of things.
Well, I was concerned about that. I was concerned about that, and the not only the Chicago style versus CP style and AP style and all these different styles that I was accustomed to before, but there's also a big difference in terms of sentence structure. When you write for journalism, it's just about the facts. There's no long, drawn-out descriptions and development of character and that sort of thing.
Right.
When you're sitting down to write a book, it's a very different process of evoking emotion and a lot of description. And I spent almost 18 years writing just the facts, nothing but the facts. So to sit down and write a book, I was very unsure of myself. I would write something, I would write a page, and then I would look at it and go, but I don't know if this is good enough to be published. So when I was really getting serious about the book, I thought, I need to find someone who is an author and a very good author, who can look at this and say, yes, this is publishable.
But you know what also the amazing thing is that there was this one time when actually Merlin recommended that we all read from our work in the class, and I think everybody would remember this. And Teresa read from the work that she's doing right now. I'll let her discuss it a little bit because I don't want her to reveal too much, because I want people to buy the book, and it will be coming out. And when she read it, it just completely, like, it really, I hope after that experience you felt more confident about your work and about the way you were writing it, because even for me, it wasn't until she read it out loud that the style that she's writing it in, it was like, yes, that makes sense. And I can hear so much of her broadcast tradition of being a broadcast writer, having to write reports while she's a reporter, all of that. I can hear that tone in the way she was writing, but it still serves so well for the stories that she's doing. So,
well, because I think at some point every writer has to or should develop their own style.
Exactly.
As long as that style doesn't interfere with the ideas that you're trying to get across.
I agree.
Basics.
Yeah.
I
Basics.
agree.
The basic formula has to be there.
I agree.
And before you're giving too much creative license. I think I understand what you're saying. Here,
The
but
Chicago Manual of Style, for example, is just really a matter of, like, you know, like, say ThatChannel.com had a style guide, right? And so
Which we do.
Which is great. Most places should. So if you have a style guide, it's like saying that, like, you know, every single time publications or any written material goes out, out that has ThatChannel.com on it, it has to have our logo. Like, you know, those kind of like, you know, little rules and regulations, right?
Yeah.
So, but the way Teresa writes is different from the way I write, but I can really appreciate the way Teresa writes, especially because, yes, I worked in broadcast too. So when she reads it out loud, it's like, holy smokes, my goodness, like this, it's amazing.
So it sounds
It'd be a
like
great audiobook.
it sounds, Teresa, like it's a fiction book, like it's a novel.
No, it's
No,
not.
It's not.
Nonfiction.
No.
Nonfiction.
nonfiction.
Because because you were talking about character development, I'm thinking if it's nonfiction, you don't really need
No,
character
it's
development.
definitely nonfiction.
So why don't
Is
you
it?
talk a little
Yeah,
bit
what's
about
your
your
book?
book? Just a little bit, briefly.
Well, my book is based on friendships. It's a book about women who help each other overcome overwhelming obstacles in their lives. It's about women who inspire each other, women who have faith in each other, women who share wonderful experiences in their life, but also share the deepest, darkest moments in their lives together.
Now, why did you want to write
Why?
this particular book?
Because I went through some difficult times in my life about 10 years ago, Hugh, and I was surrounded by an incredible group of women. Women who never judged, never really asked questions, but were just there. And I thought to myself, how can I possibly thank these women for everything they've done, for their unconditional love and support? And I thought, you know what, I've always wanted to write a book. Why don't I write a book and dedicate it to these women? So this is how this book was born.
Okay.
And it is fabulous. It really is.
Now,
It's fabulous.
What's it called? Can we give away the title?
No.
No, that's
Why not?
something- Because the
No,
book is not
it's not
published yet,
copyrighted
Hugh.
yet.
It's not copyrighted.
Oh,
Yeah. But if you invite me back, Hugh,
okay.
Yes.
we
yes,
can talk about
yes.
all the details.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Once it's published, you mean?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And is
Or
it
at
finished?
Least, or at least in the library and
I have
archives
2
of Canada.
chapters to go, Hugh, and it will be finished.
Okay. Now, I'm just curious because they say even the best writers need an editor. So what are you doing with regards to the editorial, to
That's
actually
why
having
she's
it
taking
edited?
my course.
Yeah, but are you going to edit it? Or do you have to find an editor?
Well, at this point, I'm looking at her. I'm looking at her.
So does that mean...
Donna has been kind enough to, along the lines, edit my work for me.
Now, is that part of what's included in the course?
Yeah,
is you
it's
get your
part of
book
what's included.
edited
It's a
as
good
well?
price for what the students get.
And I have to say, if I can just add this, one of the beautiful things about taking this course at U of T is that we do have an opportunity to read our work to our classmates and get feedback. And I mean, these ladies are terrific writers,
Yes.
and they all have not to get into style again, but they all do have very different styles, and they all have really creative input. And it's great for me as a writer to not only get input from someone who has already been a published author, Donna, but also these classmates who are terrific writers in their own genre in what they're
And
writing
have all done
about.
amazing things in
Yeah.
their lives
So-
too. Really
Yeah.
bring a rich array of experience.
So to have their input is just fabulous.
So it's just the 4 of you in the class?
Yeah.
So that's a really good...
First it was going to be 6, then it went down to 4.
But that's,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
cozy.
Yeah, cozy.
Yeah,
Cozy
it's
is a good word for it.
Yeah, it's cozy.
Now, are you going to read from it today? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh,
but
that's actually.
Are we gonna do maybe a little reading?
Geez, I didn't even think of that.
I have to ask my teacher
I'd have
if
to
that's
open
allowed.
up Dropbox.
Is that allowed? I'm not sure that would.
Well, it would have actually been not a bad idea. I'm sorry. Why didn't you tell me? Well, I'd have to open up Dropbox. I can find you.
I have
can
my
find it.
prologue here.
Do you?
Oh,
Yeah,
do you?
that's good.
Okay, okay.
Let's do that.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great.
We're-
Can we take a little break as she gets it? And
sure.
Do you have more monkeys or something?
What I do have is I have proof that the moon landing was faked. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Proof that the moon landing
That's
was fake.
fine.
Now there's
I don't know if I agree.
good
but it's
subject for a
fine.
book.
I don't know much about those things.
So let's watch this little video just for fun, and this
Okay.
proof the moon landing is faked.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and we'll get a reading from Teresa's book. We'll be right back.
Okay. So everybody get ready to read.
I'm going to step off the left now. It's one small step for man, one giant leap. So, I guess you want to do it again. Okay. Sorry, Mr. Corsi.
Okay, back here on the show, and although yes, the moon landing was fake, but we're on to more important issues right here and right now because Teresa has the prologue from her book, right?
That's right. I'm
Teresa?
just going to read a little section, and just to preface the prologue, I wrote my prologue a little bit about my upbringing and my friendships, and just sort of a little story about me playing in my backyard and the kids I was surrounded by, my siblings, and how we played together as kids. So I'm just going to read a very short.
Okay. Before you do that, okay, can I just ask you a question? Because a lot of times when I go to read a book, I want to get right into the book. So I skip over the prologue. I skip over the introduction. I start right at chapter 1. Am I making a big mistake by doing that? What am I missing?
Yes, you are, but I have a confession to make, Hugh. I often do that too, but if I really love the book,
Yeah.
when I'm finished the book, I go back and I read the prologue.
And then you go,
And then I say to myself, darn, why didn't I read the prologue?
yeah, now that changes everything.
Yeah, it changes everything. Yeah. So, yeah, you should always read the prologue. Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. Our backyard really was a kid's dream. We had a forest behind our house where we could build forts, play hide and seek, watch birds, and all sorts of other animals. I can remember picking a lot of wildflowers back there over the years. My brother and his buddy even cleared some trees and built a circular car track back there so they could drive an old beat-up Chevy around. One day, Jerry let me sit on his lap and steer while he worked the gas pedal and brake. I think I was about 8. I also remember one day my sister and I were wandering in the forest and we discovered a tree trunk that was partly hollowed out. My sister stuck her hand inside and there was a magazine inside there. I remember thinking that this was a very clever hiding spot for the neighborhood kids. My sister pulled the magazine out. It must have been put there by one of the local boys. It was a Playboy magazine.
That's it?
That's all you get.
That's the prologue?
Well, the prologue is 4
buy the
pages.
rest.
It's 4 pages. I
So
don't think we have time for 4 pages.
I'm hooked already. I'm just curious, where was, where did you grow up? Where was that?
I grew up in Richmond Hill, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a similar type place, field behind the house, all that kind of stuff, bicycle
A
tracks.
lot of interesting things happen in the field behind the house.
Really?
Yeah.
I know. It's great when you're a kid, right? There's so much that goes on.
Yeah.
If you have that, if you're lucky enough to have that kind of environment. So, okay, so there's a little sample. So
Yes.
that sounded great.
Yes.
When is the book coming out?
That I don't know, but I hope by spring.
I think spring is good. Yeah, I think
hope by
spring.
spring.
Yeah, I think spring it should come out for sure.
Now, what could get in the way of it not coming out in the spring?
Life.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life, work. I do work for a living, so
Oh. keep forgetting.
yeah.
Okay, so, what is there anything else we should? What else?
Anything else
Can you tell us?
you want to talk about that we didn't ask you?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well,
There's so much I'd like to reveal that I can't right now.
Why?
I know,
You mean
I
about this
know.
book in particular?
About this book in particular, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my next question, or maybe my last question, is so a lot of people, think about it. There's a couple of the most famous books of all time that were the only books that were written by that author. I'm thinking, wasn't it To Kill a Mockingbird the only book that whoever it was that wrote? So you obviously had this book in you and you needed to get it out. I'm just curious, after this experience, is there going to be any more books? Do you have any other ideas in mind for future books?
I'll be honest with you, when I started this process, I wasn't thinking in terms of I'm going to be an author for the rest of my life. But because this process has been such a joy to me, it has been labor intensive, but it has been very joyful. I do believe there will be other books. I do have a couple of ideas because there are all women that it's all women that I interviewed for this book, but men have showed interest in my book during my interview process. So my next book might in fact be something about men and their relationships, but I'm not quite sure yet.
And we've even discussed platonic male-female relationships for her to work on as well, too.
Yeah, that
So
sounds...
it could be turn into kind of like a series of just friendship books, you know, so.
That sounds like a...
And it's really, and don't think that it's only about like all rainbows and sunshine and what is that, snowflakes and girls with eyelashes.
Yeah, it's not girly. It's not girly.
It's not all.
Actually, in fact, I think you would enjoy this book.
Yeah,
because
even men would. Yeah.
Even though on the surface it sounds girly, Hugh, it is a book that men would really enjoy, because if they read this book, they would finally figure out why their wives, their girlfriends, their sisters have to have girl time. Just like men have to have time in the man cave to watch football with the boys, or time on the golf course to golf with the boys. And there's drama in this book. There's great joy in this book. So men would enjoy this book just as much as women.
Well, I didn't even think that men wouldn't.
That's
But,
good.
I mean, but that's good
good
for you to point that out for other guys out there, because, you know, a lot of times you don't know what you're going to really enjoy until you sink your teeth into it and
That's right.
go,
right.
wow,
That's right.
that's a pleasant surprise.
That's right.
So that's great. Now, okay, so I know the book isn't out yet. Hopefully it'll be out in the spring, but I mean, this video is going to live on the internet forever. So is there any contact information that you can give out if people are intrigued and want to get their hands on a copy of the book once it does come out?
Absolutely. I will give you my email. It's Teresa, no H, at ktmlc.com.
Teresa at ktmlc.com, right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. We're going to put that in the credits so people can see that.
I'm happy to
and
hear from
we'll
anybody.
spell it correctly
That's
for them.
great.
And
That's
anyway, congratulations on getting the book almost complete, and look forward to seeing it in print.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to take another little break, and then we're going to come
Okay.
back with another one of your authors.
Okay,
Donna, we're going to
sounds
come
good.
back with Kitty Salzberg. Right after this, we're going to watch a little video right now. I'm you know, no particular theme here, but I got a video of we did. You know, they're planning on building that Walmart in Kensington Market. Have you heard about that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I heard about
right?
that.
So we did a little man on the street interviews. So we're going to play that right now.
Oh, fantastic.
And
I'm
we're-
looking forward to seeing this.
And we'll come back with Kitty. First of all, do you want the Walmart, Teresa, in Kensington?
No, it's just wrong.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see now what some other people think, and we're going to come back with Kitty Salzberg as the Good Lunch continues.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Ariel Banbento, reporting for ThatChannel.com, asking people near Yonge and Dundas Square how they feel about shopping at a Walmart or big corporations, or at local places such as Kensington Market or other markets. Like shopping in the malls or local?
Yeah, malls like like Eaton Central and Shelby Gardens and the Square One, because I can find the cheaper products and I love them.
Would you rather go to the mall and shop or the local stores?
Well, it depends on the store too, but probably the mall,
The mall?
The-
How come?
because it's more variety. Plus, I think that there's like different choices and there's different stores. Yet, once it's local, you just have like, well, I guess, little variety and little difference between the things.
Have you ever been to Kensington Market?
No.
No. How do you feel about Walmart's?
Well, it is a department store, so you can get anything you want from there. So, pretty positive.
Awesome. Thank you. Would you rather shop near the malls or at local places like Kensington Market?
I think we would rather shop locally, where we usually do. We just happened to be here today, so we kind of did a little bit of both.
Have you ever been to Kensington Market before?
Kensington, no, but we love St. Lawrence Market, and we are hoping this summer to get to Kensington.
Awesome. I just have one question for you. They may build a Walmart near Kensington Market. I know you've been to St. Lawrence, so you can kind of picture it there. How do you think it will affect Kensington Market?
It definitely affects it. We're from a small town in Huron County, and as soon as we got a Walmart in our little town, the town's core center, which is a beautiful square, a lot of the shops had to close. So it makes a huge impact, and anyone that says that it doesn't is trying to fool you.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Ariel Von Bento, ThatChannel.com.
Whoa, good job. Did you see that bird flew right by right at the end?
I didn't see that.
I just noticed it now. It was kind of amazing. Okay. But we're here now with Kitty Salzberg. And Kitty, welcome to the round table.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, where do we start? I guess my first question.
Ask Kitty how old she is.
No, you.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I
ancient
think you should be
history.
proud.
We don't need to know, Kitty.
well, actually, the kind of things that I'm talking about are basically historical. I'm telling you, I'm ancient history.
In your book? You mean in your book? The things you're talking about in your book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So let's talk about. We'll get into that. But what was it that prompted you? Because that's a big step, a big commitment to sign up for a course. You must have had a booking. What was it that really got you going on this?
Well, actually, Donna's enthusiasm got me started. She sounded so excited, and I wanted to get to know her. So
Well,
that was
how did
one
you
way-
meet her?
We met at the Jewish
we went to the-
Center, Miles Nidal.
Yes, I
Yes.
don't know. To me, it's the JCC. It's
JCC,
JCC.
yes.
And
yes.
there she was. I was there with one of my grandchildren, who is an aspiring artist. She just finished a program in Halifax for 4 years with all the fine degrees and all kinds of. She's was a valedictorian, no job, of course. And
What? Even though she was valedictorian, there's no
Well,
job? What is
well,
happening?
I know.
because she's an artist.
Yeah.
She's an artist. So here we were, and she was talking about all these wonderful things that she's doing. And I've been having in my mind for the longest time to do something for my sister. Mm-hmm. My sister is an avid writer. She writes all the time, and she puts her work in with papers into boxes and boxes. And one of the poems that she wrote was, "My heart is in a box." And it's so true.
Oh.
So I wanted to get something out to give her some recognition. See, she and I are the survivors of our family. I was the much older sister by 2 years and 3 months. And I was her sole protector for many, many years, from the time that I was 11. And my life later became so much better than most people's lives are. I really have had a spectacular life. And my sister has not had the same opportunities as I did. Mm-hmm. And I think that she's a different personality as well. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely a person who is very assertive, as you can tell by my talk.
Okay, so is that so? did I hear you correctly? So you wrote this book to honor your sister in a way.
Well, I'm writing this book, and it's not finished, as a combination of my version of my memories and her memories. And then we got our little granddaughter in, my granddaughter in, as the person who will illustrate it.
Oh, so she's, oh, I see. So she's done the art for...
She will do
Family
the art.
affair.
So she promised, anyhow.
She will.
And so we're writing it, both of us, from the point of view of how we felt at the time where things were happening. And thus, Donna thinks that this is a children's book. But I hope that it is just a book that's sort of a very simple book that will clarify things for people who are not children as well.
Oh, it does appeal to people who are not children as well. Like, it centers around the Holocaust and being in Hungary, and maybe you could talk a bit more about that, the kind of stories that are in the
do you want to tell us the story? Tell us the story.
Well,
not the whole story, of course. You still want people to make sure they buy the book.
Well, basically, the Hungarian story is very simple. We were left without parents.
And can you where were you? I've been to Hungary, so I'm curious where you were.
I was mostly in Budapest. I was a child that grew up in the tenements of Budapest, in one of the dirtiest and most bug-filled area of Budapest.
Which side of the river were you on?
Oh, the Pest side.
Ah.
P-E-S-T.
Yeah.
And I'm describing how we are waking up in the middle of the night because the bugs wake us up, and we're having a contest who can kill more bugs, and I usually won. And I'm still proud to say that.
Okay, so then what happened? Then the war came along.
Well, no, this is the war came along. My father was taken into slave labor camp. My mother tried to survive. I was separated because I had TB. So I haven't seen my mother from the time I was 8, except occasionally. My little sister was staying with her, and she tried to survive, and I'm describing how she manages as a poor woman who's not allowed to work anyhow, because by the laws, Jews weren't supposed to. But then they take her away as well, and I'm reunited with my sister, and I become her mother.
And how old were you at that time?
11.
And what year was that?
1944.
Okay.
I became 12 at the end of that year, so you can figure out how old I am.
Well, I won't do the math right now.
Doesn't she look amazing? She looks amazing.
Okay, so then what happened?
Well, after an orphanage experience, well, all right.
Well,
in
don't
between,
tell too much of the story. That's about enough.
Well,
That's
what
enough.
happens
That's a
is
good
he wants to
preview.
know. I came to Canada.
No.
I came to Canada, basically. Donna,
You want
it's
people
okay.
to buy the book.
I don't care if they buy the book. I just want my sister to have have a book for herself, you know?
Yeah.
I really want her to have this as a gift from my love for her.
Yeah.
She came to Canada because I decided to leave Hungary. I wasn't happy with it. I really felt pissed off.
No, when was that? When did you get out of Hungary?
About in 1948.
Okay, so
the children's group that was sponsored by the Jewish committee of something was able to get us out as one of the last group of children from Hungary to Canada. And there my experiences and her experiences are parted, because in the wisdom of the Jewish Family and Child Service, they separated us after all those years. So she was put into foster home after foster home after foster home, whereas I was an older kid and pretty fast in learning how to speak English after I have read a very, very sexy novel called Forever Amber, and I had to learn all the vocabulary, of course. So I picked up English very, very rapidly. And then I went to university, met my husband, and he was fabulous. He was an amazing human being. So I have had a very, very wonderful life.
Now, did you come? Now, okay, so 1948, you were 15.
Yes.
Right? And did you decide that you wanted to go to Canada, or you just had certain limited opportunities, and one of those was Canada?
I had lots of opportunities. One of the opportunities I had was, of course, to go to South Africa, and one to Australia, also to Israel. And I decided Canada was the best place to hide in because it was so empty and so cold. Who the hell would want to bother anybody here? And then I arrived in Canada in sweltering August.
Oh, yeah.
So then I decided that maybe I wasn't quite right about the country, and I think because people were so wonderful, my feeling of trying to put everything behind and not trusting people sort of dissipated itself. And I became just a very, very happy person all over again.
And did you settle in Toronto?
Yes.
And
Talk about what you started doing when you settled in Toronto.
Well, at first I went to high school, and I advocated for myself, but I'm very proud to say, this is not in the book yet.
I know.
That I told the principal after I picked up on my English after reading Forever Amber that I should skip a year. And he eventually allowed me to go from grade 9 to grade 11. I was older than the other kids, but there were some kinds of incidences that have proved to him, like a mistake that they gave me a grade 11 English paper, and I was only in grade 9, and I wrote the parts that I could because they were just grammar and poetry appreciation and précis, and I passed those. So he allowed me to go ahead and have another chance at making up the years that I didn't have in Hungary because I wasn't allowed to go to school.
And at the time, so you were grade 9, grade 11, where was your sister at that time?
She was allowed to go to school until she was 16 years old. From the time she was 12, she had 3 years of regular school, and she was then getting a little bit of typing, made to leave and support herself at age 16. And then she had to work in a factory.
And were you in touch with her at that time, or?
Constantly. Oh boy, and bothering the social workers because she, well, if you would like to, I would be able to tell you what she wrote. I just got this letter in the mail today.
Sure.
So.
Are you going to read from your book as well?
Well, this will eventually be in the book, I think.
Okay.
This is the book, sort of whatever. Or if you like to have my ideas, my ideas are more lecture type than hers, you know.
I think it's a nice combination, their writing, because her sister expresses herself quite a bit through poetry, and that's kind of a bit of her trademark compared to Kitty's, and Kitty is more prose, definitely more prose. So they're telling the same story but from different perspectives that way. So it's really it's quite unique, the kind of switching back and forth of point of view, and yet coming from two sisters. Like you can really see their shared experience, yet from it's almost like getting different angles, different camera angles on a movie.
So let's have. Okay, so let's do both. Which one do you want to do first?
Well, I'll do Ilonka. Ilonka was her name at that time. Her name now is Ellen. Everybody anglicized everything. As soon as I came, they wrote another name down for us.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is what she writes. A refugee child, walking on a tightrope and without a net. If I make a sudden move, I fall back and break my neck. We came across the Atlantic Ocean with a group of orphan kids, hoping to find a loving family and a safe place to live. Canada was a strange land. We tried to adopt their ways. People were suspicious of us because we were from different place than theirs. Couldn't speak the English language, that was a big drawback. Couldn't communicate at first. Left me frustrated and mad. When I arrived in Canada, I was 12, orphaned at a young age of 9. I was dependent on others for survival, and that was humiliating, so I cried. My first foster home, I was placed. I was excited to find a permanent place. But I became disillusioned later since we couldn't communicate, so they sent me to Rome. English is a hard language to learn quick when we spoke only one mother tongue. It takes a while to master speaking it. People have no time or patience to hear you out. The second foster home, Yiddish and Polish were spoken. We couldn't communicate either. So we just smiled at one another, looked foolish, and I felt like a jerk pretending to understand. The third place, they needed a built-in sitter so they can more often go out of town. I stopped trusting people's motives after that, and I've become withdrawn. So that's the kind of thing that she wrote.
Just curious, so where is she now? Is she in Toronto?
She's in Los Angeles. This is why I'm just getting letters from her.
Okay.
And she's sending her share of the stories.
Yeah.
And they're amazing, you know, the kind of stuff that this girl went through. And I want to pay homage to my little sister who survived it all. Mm-hmm. Now she's 78 years old and married, raised a family, and she's there. She's, you know, we talk every week.
Yeah. And she's living the dream in California.
Not
right?
quite. She had a few nightmares.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's her most recent letter to you?
That's
so she's
today's letter.
Today. So
I
she's,
just happened to pick it up on my way here.
So how often does she send you a contribution to the book?
I think she says that she's going to send me maybe 2 more sections of whatever she says, and then she's all written out as far as she's concerned. Something she doesn't want to share.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So.
All right. Now, are you going to do a little bit of your side?
Perhaps. Well, this is my point of view. I could never understand how people could be so intolerant to each other. Recently, I listened to a song written by Dolly Parton when she was just 17, called God's Coloring Book. In it, she describes the great variety of wonderful things that exist in our world, from white clouds through the golden ray of sunlight to the multicolored rainbow that all make our world beautiful. She's so right. I also see that the variety of human beings in this world is also the part of this coloring book of God. So I do not understand why people discriminate against other people just because they are a different color or have a different way of expressing their relationship to God, even to the point of murdering them, as they did to my parents, who did no one any harm, just because they were Jews. The foolish thing, and illogical as well, is that these very same people follow the teachings of a man, worship him as the Son of God, and don't even give it a thought that this man, Jesus, was born a Jew, lived as a Jew, and died because he was a Jew. And so I was then taken along with my sister into the orphanage for Jewish children. In my readings about orphanages and other institutions for children, I heard about a lot of bad things. The people in charge were mean and often abusive. So as I reluctantly entered this orphanage, it is a little wonder that I was apprehensive. But as usual in my short 12 years of life, I felt that I had no choice but to go where I was told. But this place was very different from what I imagined. The orphanage was a most beautiful, large mansion, never before seen by a child who was used to scruffy, tall apartment buildings in the city and the simple country cottage of my experience away from Budapest. This place was located on a tree-lined boulevard that was leading to the hero square of the city besides a large city park. Inside were lots of large rooms. The first floor had space for couches and armchairs, a large dining room table with chairs all around it, and still more empty space. The cooking was done out of sight by hired cooks, I suppose, and the second floor housed many beds in different bedrooms. I was given a bed of my very own on the girls' side, and for the first time in a long while, I felt safe.
Wow. So, I'm just curious, where was that orphanage? Was that in Budapest?
Do you know the Hero Square? Do you know the city park that was inside with amusement parks and everything? It's called Délibáb utca.
Is it on the Pest side or Buda side?
Pest. Everything was on the Pest side.
Except the Var.
Oh, that's the castle.
Yeah.
Well, and my teachers, I had a wonderful art teacher.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, who took me in, and I started to develop my art skills.
Wonderful.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's great. So
She has a daughter, by the way, just quickly, she has a daughter named Barbara, who's
Yes,
also written 2 books, actually.
It's more than two,
more
yes,
than
but
two books.
the third book is a professional book.
Okay, I see. So she's developing a trend there. So
Well, my daughter Barbara is now head of an art department in a high school, you know.
Very good.
And then her daughter is now graduating from art.
okay, now you're still writing the book, obviously, because you're still getting letters from your sister. When do you think you'll be finished, and when do you think the book will come out?
I think maybe about 3 weeks.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fast.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I know my story. You know, it's not something I have to
And
make up.
plus, it's a children's story too, so it would just depend, I guess, on how quickly your granddaughter can put together the
Well,
illustrations.
this
but I
is
imagine
a
it probably
question,
wouldn't.
of course, because I'm not sure I have not really had too much experience working with her.
But I think in 3 weeks' time, there could certainly be a good, strong draft
Yeah.
that could then lead to a final draft within no longer than 3 months after that. Like and I'm talking long timeline, like about 3 months
Of course,
after
they
that.
don't. You know, at
Yeah.
this age, I don't
Yeah.
have that much time.
Well, yes, time's ticking, right? So we have to get
Yeah,
this
tick-tock.
out. Exactly.
Well, you know, the thing is, this show is going to go up on the internet, and people could be watching this long after the book's already been published, Kitty.
Well, hopefully you may even want to have Kitty back, which would be great. I'm
Of
hoping
course,
you'll want to have
we're happy to
everybody
have all
back.
you guys
I love to
back,
talk, so
especially once the book's
anytime
out.
you
There's so many more stories from all of them. You've only gotten just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And this Titanic doesn't sink.
That's
so,
right. Okay,
yeah.
so Kitty, though, so for people that are watching, maybe they want to get their hands on the book. Is there some contact information you can give out for
All
people?
right, my email, if you like,
Sure.
is Kitty Salzberg,
Yeah.
and that's SALSBER. Well, you have the spelling,
Right.
at hotmail.com.
Okay. Perfect. Kitty Salzberg at hotmail.com. And we're going to put that in the credits. And thanks for coming on the show today and telling us part of your story a little bit. And we
You're
look forward to
very
the book coming
welcome.
out. And we're going to take a little break now. And because you mentioned it, that song by Dolly Parton, I thought it would be great for us to play that song now.
That sounds great.
And
So
kind of punctuate
Dolly.
the interview. So we have that ready to go.
Excellent.
And we're going to come back with Dr. Merlin Charles right after this.
Very good.
She was 17.
Wow.
Because I just
found the way. I sat down on a fallen log to pass the time away. And as I looked around me, the more that I did look, the more I realized that I was viewing God's coloring book. I saw a golden ray of sunlight, a silver drop of dew, a soft white floating cloud sailing across the sky blue, a yellow dandelion, a pretty evergreen, and some red and orange flowers growing wild along the streams. And the more I look around me, and the more that I do look, the more I realize that I am viewing God's coloring book. The grayness in an old man's hair, the pink in baby's cheeks, the blackness in a stormy sky, the brown and fallen leaves, and the multicolored rainbow stretched out across the sky, and the purple haze at sunset just before the night. And the more I look around me, and the more that I do look, the more I realize that I am viewing God's coloring book. Then I turn my face toward the sky and say a silent prayer. And though God doesn't speak to me, I see Him everywhere. He is all around me, He's everywhere I look, and each new day is but a new page in God's coloring book. Each new day is but a new page in God's coloring book.
And we're back here on the show after that fabulous song by Dolly Parton.
She's got a great voice.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're here with Merlin Charles, or Dr. Merlin Charles.
Merlin Charles is fine.
So you brought your thesis here.
Yes, it happens to be here with me right now.
It's a big,
I just picked it up. I just had it bound today.
Look at it.
at
Did you?
From the University of Toronto bookstore. Yes.
Now this is not the book that you wrote, or is it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Self-publishing this.
Just look at this.
This is already published.
It's possible to do that, but yeah.
Look how thick it is.
Ooh.
Now that's
I know.
a thick
It's
thesis.
355 pages.
Yeah.
So, are you just recently finished your degree?
I actually graduated on June 7th, 2012.
With your doctorate?
Wow.
Yes.
And
A year and 20 days.
I'm just curious. So, why did you? What is it? What kind of doctor is it? Are you?
Well, Doctor of Philosophy, or I actually did my doctoral studies at OISE, Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at the University of Toronto. So it's in education.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a Doctor of Philosophy.
We better get the title of your thesis here, just so people know what
it's-
your
Yeah, and it says
oeuvre
the
is.
title says it all.
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. It's called The Heart and Soul of Language Teaching, making interconnections between holistic and second language education in the post-secondary context. I know, it's pretty long.
Yeah.
But it's just to capture all the different things that I have.
So what
Sort
can
of
we
worked out.
all? How will society benefit from this?
Oh,
What
wow.
will we? what are we all gaining from this work that you've done?
Wonderful. That's a really great question, because that's what thesis writing is all about. It's to, so that the society, or that's what research is about, that can benefit from whatever we need to do to improve our lives and to improve the lives of others, and especially, well, of course, in different contexts. And of course, this is in the educational context. And it's, well, yeah, talking about a thesis might be the most difficult thing, because, they say if you can talk about your thesis within 3 minutes from if someone would ask you in the elevator, and by the time you get off, you've already told them what your thesis is about, you're on.
That's what we want. A 30-second explanation. 30 seconds.
30-second explanation. Well, it's about, it's making interconnections, as it says here, between holistic and second language education. So holistic education is a whole big field in itself. And
what is that, like holistic? Let me guess. Like the Montessori approach?
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the schools that, do provide a holistic approach to teaching and learning. So there's Montessori, there's Waldorf, right? And basically, I do believe, though, that anyone can be a holistic teacher and can make someone into a holistic learner as well. So it's not really based in any particular philosophy, I don't think. It's just because holistic education seeks to teach the whole student, body, mind, and spirit. And that's what it's about.
And then this relates also to what? To teaching
second language education.
Right.
So, well, this thesis is more or less a marriage of my different interests, which is, of course, holistic education and language, second language, and French, for example, as a second language, especially here in Canada. I know that, French is very important, and bilingualism, because of Canada being a bilingual country, it's so important to be able to speak and communicate in French, right? But I had, and as a French second language learner, I felt that it would be really interesting to marry my two areas of interest. And so I wrote about, I studied the idea of a holistic approach to language teaching and learning.
Interesting.
Right? So,
it's funny that you're bringing up language now and learning a second language. Kitty mentioned how hard it was to learn English.
Right.
Oh my God. It's much easier to learn than learning Hungarian, though.
Oh yeah.
Okay, great. So you brought your thesis, and but at the same time, because it was, like you said, only last year you got your doctorate, but now here you are writing, or have written, I'm not sure if you're finished yet or not, a book, and you took Donna's class.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what's that all about?
Well, I met Donna during my doctoral studies at OEZ too. I remember I was one of the persons helping out on orientation day when I met, and as you said to her earlier today, when she was in this seat, that she's really very prolific, and I've always been drawn to her ability to really inspire people to do good things. And and I thought, wow, when I heard that she was teaching this course and that I'm getting a credit to, that I can follow it too, I thought it would have been a wonderful, it has been a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful experience just to, explore a little bit of my creative side in terms of, creative nonfiction, and after this heavy thesis work, just to relax a little bit and to, work with Donna. And she has published quite a few books as a self-published author. And I thought, wow, that would be a really great transition. And it's been, I can't say how wonderful it has been just to meet, especially the other students in the class. It's like, Thursday afternoon from 7 to 9. I really look forward to it because she creates, as I have observed, a holistic learning environment in her classes, and that's really something that I would like to promote too in my own teaching, and that I think that's one of the great things about the course, because given that there are only 4 students, when we get together, we really connect with each other. We all learn from each other, and that's another thing too that holistic education is about, like smaller classes, group work, cooperation, and people learning from each other and that kind of thing. So I feel very much at home in the class, and I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to experience it.
Well, thank you so much, Merlin, but I have to just jump in here and just say that I'm very fortunate to have everybody that's in the class have so many great ideas and very bright experience, bring such you all have PhDs in life experience, so it's great when you're dealing with people like that. It's just we can feed off each other,
right?
So really, I'm learning just as much as I'm teaching, if not even more.
Yeah. So I'm really learning a lot in the class, and even the idea of certain things that we do, just this communication is a big thing, especially when you and I think we all are writers, right? But it takes a certain something to bring it out of us, right? And so that's what I find is happening in the class, just going within and really bringing out what it is that we have inside. So there's so many stories to tell that I don't even know where to start, and but listening to other stories is just as interesting and exciting for me.
So have you started yet? Have you started writing anything?
Yes, I was just going to get to that. I was just going to get to that.
Yes, I have actually. I've always been, oh my gosh, where do I start? What should I write about? There's so many stories to tell. And what I found myself doing was to go back. Sometimes, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been, right? So what I did was I thought I would probably go back to my years of academic learning and writing, and look at stuff that I might have written since I started, say, at Seminole College in 1999, and some of the essays that I wrote, and to look at them now and see, oh, what about putting this together and call it a collection of essays, and from my undergraduate work and coming up to this point. So that's basically what I have been doing, and perhaps tweaking them a little bit to put them in a more publishable format.
So
wouldn't she make a great assistant professor?
Well, I don't feel I'm qualified, Donna, to assess what an assistant professor needs to be all about.
I'm getting there, and I think she would. Somebody hire this woman.
But I still want to know what the book's about.
So the book is about, well, unlike the other students, I have to say, and perhaps, I may not get as good a grade as they would, because I haven't really been writing, the first thing that I did hand in. Yeah, what I did hand in is
assistant professor position.
Right, because I still, in between trying to look for work and to, get things going on the family side and everything. I have put together my narrative, right? It's
beautiful.
Yeah, so I've written
Just
about
stunning.
50 pages so far.
It's 50 plus, it's about 57.
Yes, and it's really looking at my life up to this point, but mostly
and plus you add 10
in
more
the academic
pages to
room.
it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So my book, I'm not sure exactly what format it's going to take at the very, at the end of the day, but so Donna is going to be helping me with that to see what would be, more in a better category as self-publishing piece.
Well, it sounds like you're writing about your life story, right? And they say that every person's life is a book, is a story, is a hero's journey of some sort.
I really agree with that thinking. Really agree with that. Yeah.
So you're on a quest then.
Quest.
Right?
That's the operational word. Thank you.
So what is your quest?
The quest. I think my quest is what I think is probably the most difficult thing in life, is to find out who you are. Having done especially my thesis, and I could now call myself Dr. Charles, I still feel that our quest, the quest of every human being, is to gain self-knowledge, and that's what I'm still doing right now. So hopefully the quest will continue, as I continue on the journey of life, I will find the appropriate things to write about. And I still feel sometimes these things present themselves along the journey. And that's what I'm trying to find out. That's my quest, to find out who I am and how this self-knowledge can help me better understand other human beings as myself, and to help them in whichever way that I can, especially as a teacher. And,
Very interesting. Would you like to read the abstract?
He's very serious. He's looking at me very seriously.
You got it. She's a doctor of philosophy. What do you expect? But would you like to read the abstract from your dissertation?
It's pretty long. But,
is it really long?
Can't do the whole thing. Maybe a paragraph or two.
Maybe just the first paragraph.
It should be fine.
Okay.
It should be fine.
Okay.
So my thesis is entitled "The Heart and Soul of Language Teaching: Making Interconnections Between Holistic and Second Language Education in the Post-Secondary Context." And all right, so my abstract. While much research has been conducted on the cognitive and methodological aspects of language pedagogy, there has been little research on other essential aspects of teaching and learning, such as teacher presence. The aim of this doctoral research study is to discover, describe, and document the various ways in which holistic education is operationalized in the Canadian post-secondary language teaching learning context. Using French as a second language FSL instruction as a concrete example, the study was further aimed at developing a comprehensive understanding of what teachers do to facilitate holistic engagement in learning a second, foreign, or additional language in the post-secondary classroom and beyond. Particular attention was paid to various holistic interconnections and relationships involved in language teaching, and ways in which these helped to foster a spirit of inclusion, balance, and connectedness in the language teaching learning environment. So this quantitative research inquiry utilized a blend of narrative and case study methodologies and included a variety of data sources such as face-to-face, individual and focus group interviews, classroom observations, and surveys. The research has been particularly informed by a core group of participants comprising of 6 FSL university instructors, as well as a peripheral group of 5 other language instructors from both the college and university context. Students of the core participant groups also lent their voices to this endeavor, thus providing a rich understanding of how they perceive their experiences of post-secondary language teaching. That's it. I know it's a bit academic, but...
You had me at pedagogy.
And pedagogy is love, as Paulo Freire, one of the persons I do quote in this book. That's
really,
a Brazilian.
It means love.
Well, pedagogy, yes, as love. Because when and that's one of the main ideas about holistic education. The center of every relationship is love, even teaching and learning, between the teacher and the student.
The dissertation is also available online. All dissertations that come out of the University of Toronto are available on what's known as T-Space through Robarts Library on the University of Toronto online. And I believe just about anybody can access it, right? So
it can be accessed,
can access it and read the entire thing if they're interested in the topic and would like to learn more. So
great.
Yeah,
okay.
And they can immediately turn to page 259, which shows this model that further explains what
this is all about.
What this is all about.
So when people start to implement the ideas contained in this book, this thesis here, what's going to happen? Are we going to have more people learning their second language faster with a lot of love in the classroom?
Oh wow, he asks the best questions. Absolutely. In fact, that's what, and as you asked me at the beginning of the interview, this is what that will contribute to, you know, this thesis is meant to contribute to the rest of the world, and especially teaching and learning in a Canadian context. And so what it encourages teachers to do in all different levels is to just be present in the classroom and to show love to their students, and to have that, to develop and to maintain that kind of environment in the classroom. And
Great.
with that, you know, you can learn language much faster, but it's not a question of speed. It's really a question of just being there and really, you know, wanting to learn and wanting to teach and loving every minute of it.
All right. Sounds
All right.
good. Okay, so now, it sounds like there's a possibility here you may get a job as Donna's teaching assistant.
Are you kidding?
What did he say?
I haven't even completed my PhD yet. I should be her
Well-
teaching assistant.
Well, see?
With her being an assistant professor at Oise.
Maybe you should just get together and then just bring love into the room.
Yes.
Right? And then you can learn and teach each other.
Yeah, we are all teachers and learners, really.
But whether or not that happens, Merlin, I'm just curious. Are you
But
going to
she
write
does
another
teach.
book?
She
Are you going to
does
write the book?
teach. She
Are you going to
actually
write the
does
book that
teach.
Donna's talking about?
Yes, I am. I think, you know, it's a different kind of writing. As you can see, this gets, you know, a little heavy. And whereas that's one of the reasons, as I said, while I took the course, so I could just, you know, relax and write something that's creative and that's just, you know, light and, you know.
Yeah, non-academic.
Non-academic, you know,
Okay.
but still bring in my academic background
Her
into it,
narrative,
which you
she
can.
does a narrative, and it's lovely. It's like, you know, talks about Dominica.
Yeah.
Dominica is how you pronounce it. Dominica.
Growing up in
Are you from there?
Growing up in Dominica.
Yes, I'm from the nature island of the Caribbean called
I know
Dominica.
somebody who was Debbie Douglas, who was the daughter of
Debbie Douglas.
Douglas,
Oh,
the Prime
yeah, was the
Minister,
Prime Minister.
right?
Oh, yes,
Good
yes,
friends
yes.
with Michael Manley, I believe.
Right,
Wow.
That's right.
Hey,
My goodness,
it's a
figured
small
you would
world.
know her.
Yeah.
But you know what they say? See Paris and die. You've heard that, right?
Right.
But see Dominica first.
Okay. Well, I'd love to see Dominica. When can we go?
Oh, as soon as you're ready. In fact, we could, you know, it's the nature isle. We could. It's always ready and willing to welcome everyone.
I'm
And,
ready to go.
yeah,
Ready, right after the
let's do
show.
it.
Okay. Well, thanks for doing this, Merlin, and
welcome.
congratulations on getting your PhD.
Oh, thank you, and thanks for having me here. It was
Not
really
a small
You're
feat.
welcome.
Many people drop out of their PhD.
Well, and who would know more than you, Donna? Who's still working on it?
Still working on it.
Yeah, you know, perseverance is the key.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very
Perseverance.
true.
do you want to give out some contact info before we move along?
Yes, I'm working on my website, just like I'm working on my book. But it's Merlin Charles, as
Yeah.
one word, 1@gmail.com.
The numeral one?
Numéro 1, oui.
The numeral, though.
Yeah,
Merlin Charles 1 at
@gmail.com.
Gmail. Okay. Great.
Yeah, so you can, you know.
Okay, Merlin.
And then, you know, and what I wanted to say too, like if people want to learn more about holistic education, which again is a really broad field, they can also, there's the holistic education website, just holisticeducation.com.
Is that your website?
No, it's not my website, but it's one of the websites that you can access and learn more about holistic education, especially our upcoming conference in October of this year, which we have every 2 years. So,
Victoria.
merci beaucoup.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take a little break here now. We're going to come back with our, hit this home stretch with our last guest of the day. Marianne Gold will be on in just a couple minutes. In the meantime, we're going to look at this trailer for some movie called State of Mind. I don't know much about it, but, you know, we'll just let synchronicity do its job. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we choosing our own paths, our own destiny, or has it been pre-selected for us?
C.S. Lewis said, when training beats education, civilization dies.
We need to always be cognizant of, as a free society, that information can be used as a weapon.
Barrier to discovery is not ignorance. It's the illusion of knowledge.
We are seen as nothing but biological androids.
To gain control of education in America, not for a philanthropic purpose, but to change the thinking of the American people.
From the time we're very young, we're taught to, worship authority basically because that's our key to survival as young children.
Discover the history, the present, and the future of mind control. From compulsory state education to the Hollywood media brainwashing machine, we are kept in perpetual bondage to the ideas that shape our actions.
In the CIA, scientists could actually film people who had been surreptitiously dosed with LSD.
There's a brain entrainment process that takes place.
That gives the government free rein to create whatever story or narrative it wants to create.
Whatever the public face of something is, whatever they're talking about publicly, there's something else over here they're probably not looking at.
How to engineer the opinion of the American people so that they would fully endorse, not only endorse, but demand a war.
When you watch mainline establishment television, you are putting yourself in front of the barrel of a gun. Discover the history, the present, and the future of mind control, psychological warfare, brainwashing. Are we controlled and manipulated? You bet.
That's mind control par excellence.
Find out how deep the rabbit hole really goes with this new groundbreaking documentary film, State of Mind. Available exclusively at Infowars.com.
Okay, we're back here on the show, and yeah, you like that trailer voice, Donna?
I've heard it so many times, so many times.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're joined here by Marianne Gold on the show. Marianne, great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So what do you think of the show so far? You've been sitting patiently while all the other your classmates have come on?
I was thinking if I could have shouted out at some of your thoughts, I would have agreed with many of them. The one about the reading and writing, for example.
Oh, you mean more writers, less readers? That one?
Yes, and the fact that, well, for Donna's case, established writers doing their own publishing. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why, but I would imagine efficiency would be one thing you could think about.
You mean established writers
are writing their own, yes.
And publishing their own.
Yes, yes.
Well, they get to keep more of the money that way, too, I think.
Well, then
right?
Maybe it's greed.
And now you don't even need it's like the record industry. You don't even need a publisher.
No, absolutely not.
Because you can...
Music? I mean, everybody has something they can download, something decent on, put it on CD.
Yeah, and you can create the music in your own, yourself in your bedroom now. You don't need to have a big studio. You don't need to have big marketing. It doesn't help anyway. I don't know how you get the word out about whatever you're doing now. It's as if, I think Andy Warhol was wrong. Remember he said, 15 minutes of fame, everybody will get 15 minutes of fame. I think it's like everybody is famous to 15 people now.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it.
I would recite from the Mishnah, the Torah. Mishnah says that everyone has their day in the sun. Mm-hmm. And the old baseball saying, every dog has his moment in the sun. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
Okay.
Now,
probably where Andy Warhol got it from.
Don't know. Could be.
Yeah.
So 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Mm-hmm. So, Marianne, have you had your day in the sun yet, or is it just around the corner?
Well, it depends what I do with this, doesn't it? My day in the sun. I'm going to be 76 next month, so I think, given my circumstances, I've not done badly, and I think I've had my day in the sun almost every day of my life, even despite misery. Mm-hmm. I tend to laugh rather than cry, so that works. I've been dealing with autoimmune disease for close to 20 years, breast cancer, knee replacement, so on and so forth. So, old age is not for wimps.
Yeah, that's what That's what everybody says.
Yes, it's true.
And it probably takes everybody by surprise, in a way.
Well, we don't think it's going to happen to us, do we? Somehow I'm going to avoid this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's your book?
Well, I'm working on a whole set of poems, and I think I'm sort of poetryed out on one of them, but it's about my mother, and who's 102, and everybody, all her brothers and sisters, 6 of them, have already died, and she's the only one that's left, and she's a misery, very frankly. So I often thought that she would outlive everybody simply because of that misery would keep her going. So I started writing on and off, and then I stopped. And then I got this little notebook, My Dysfunctions, a journal for chronicling my immeasurably fascinating dysfunctions, neuroses, and emotions.
Here, I need to read that. I need to see that.
Yes, and miraculously, Donna's course came up. It was advertised in the Globe and Mail to-do section, travel sections, and
that's how you found out about Donna and her course?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then I just wrote stuff. So what I started with was a long time ago. It all happened on Baldwin Street, which it did.
Now, which part of Baldwin Street? The part between where the synagogue is? Or no, that's the wrong street. The
Spadina Avenue.
Between Spadina and Kensington?
Yes.
That part of Baldwin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's what I started with, and I met someone when I was doing some photocopying. I'm a failed PhD student. I did write my thesis, but I did at OIC in narrative.
And what happened?
I was in my late 60s, and I thought, no one's going to give me a job. It doesn't matter.
Oh, so you were just doing it for the money?
No, I was doing it for me. No, actually, in a way, it saved my life, because that's when I got the scleroderma, and so you could focus outward.
Oh.
And that made such a difference.
What is that? I don't even know what that means.
From the Greek sclera, hard, derma, skin.
Okay.
So everything gets hard, and your innards don't quite work.
Oh.
So I had the best kind, the worst kind actually, and luckily they put me on some experimental medication, and it worked mercifully. And now that's the treatment of choice.
Wow.
Which I thought was, I thought that was interesting. So writing and learning, I've always gotten a high from learning. It's my passion. And then when at the time I was still working, although I wasn't all that well, and I was a coordinator of an adult literacy program, and these are not immigrants learning other than their mother tongue. Mm-hmm. These are mainly Canadians. Mm-hmm. And what happened? So I started at OIC with a master's, finished that, and then I ended up with Mick Connolly as my advisor. Narrative. And narrative is your story, and it is your way of research, and that just suited me like a glove. I just fell into narrative and thought it was lovely. Mm-hmm. Because we all tell stories, and we all live by stories, by myth, by lore, everything we do, we believe we heard somewhere else, some other time. Deja vu, where does that come from? As my husband says, everybody's lab notes have everything in it, one way or the other. The question is to recognize the significance of what you've got in those lab notes. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was narrative. And that's what I started with the happened on Baldwin Street. And I have an undergraduate degree in a history major and social history. So here's the story of my mother, which I interviewed her for one undergraduate paper, and I drew on that. My writing style has changed considerably since then, but the facts were there. In the interwar years, only immigrant married women worked, and it was like no more than 10 or 11%. And they came from countries where there had been oppression, anti-Semitism, I'm Jewish, and so on. So they weren't well educated. What do? You go work in a shop, in a sweatshop, as a seamstress.
So you're saying in the interwar years, so that's between
First,
World War I and World War II,
right.
in Canada?
In Toronto.
In Toronto,
Sure.
the only people that were working were...
No, married women. Of married women.
Oh, of married women.
Yes.
Were the immigrant...
Yes, yes.
Because... And why?
Well,
Because...
they had to support the families.
Because the guys weren't able to find jobs?
Some of the guys weren't there. Some of the guys disappeared. A lot of men...
There's something going on out there,
I think
Marion.
so.
I hope it's not in our building. Wouldn't be the first time.
They're passing. they are passing.
Yeah, they sound like they're passing.
A lot of men left their families, established new ones, didn't look after their families. And well, my mother was a single woman, so that's a different story, but I just thought that was of interest, the married women. So as a single woman, you would be limited to the salary that society dictated you could live on. It was unmarried girls and women were meant to contribute to the family, not support the family. So they had a very limited amount of money they could earn, and employees weren't willing to pay more. And eventually they introduced a minimum wage, and eventually the factory she was working for was unionized, and so on. So her first job in a two-story factory around the corner from Baldwin Street. She was a busheler. I don't think anybody knows what that is anymore.
I don't quite know.
A busheler.
Busheler, I remember.
You cut the loose threads off the seams. So the sewing machine operator, that's what we called them, sewing machine operators, not seamstresses and not textile workers and so on. You cut the threads off, and now you don't cut threads off good dresses. Everything is sort of unravels as you walk. But
they want it that way, so you have to buy more, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, capitalist economy.
Wow.
Well, at least I think. Anyway, her first salary was $2.67. She shared a room in the kitchen with her father, who was here. He brought her, and a man who was the father of my husband's colleague in school, fellow student. So that was interesting. She slept in the kitchen, curtain drawn to separate the kitchen so that she could have a place for a cot, and the two men shared the front room until they were able to bring their families piecemeal, which they did. First came my grandfather, then my mother, then two of the boys, and then the third boy, and so on.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm doing this, I started this mainly as catharsis, because my mother is hard to say, but she's really a difficult woman, as her mother was. And then there's something to be said for grandmother's girls, I believe. If you're raised by your grandmother and not your mother, you have guilt feelings about dual loyalties, I believe. And so she was the oldest daughter raised by a grandmother, then her mother, and me and my daughter. So I think there's something to that there. So it was a difficult life for her, and she very poor education, and a father who didn't appreciate girls. He wrote a book about his life, and he said, I have 3 sons. He also had 4 daughters.
Wow.
And that was not mentioned. My husband's rabbi heard that he had 2 children, twins. He said, what are they, a boy or a girl? 2 girls. He said, oh, who cares? Let's go back to learning the Gemara. So that's basically the sentiment in those years. Now, we're history. We're looking at it, and we're talking about Rashi's daughters. He taught them to learn and to read and to write commentary. But those are few and far between now. In this beginning of the century, there are 3 women graduated from an Orthodox rabbinical seminary I'm a history major. You can bear with me. So that I had that title in mind. I met someone who said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to write about my mother. It happened on Baldwin Street." And she said, "Oh my goodness, I'm doing research on Baldwin Street." I said, "Okay, this is a great title. Where are you doing the research?" "Oh, great." So that's what I'm doing. And Donna is saying I should finish my PhD. I don't know. I don't really know.
All right, well, let's talk just about the book for a minute now. It's Donna mentioned it's a book of poetry.
Yes. I thought that would be easier for me to handle and easier for anyone to read, so we don't have to get into nitty-gritty details. I mean, society was pretty awful in those days.
So you think what do you think? Things are better now than they used to be back in the good old days?
Sure. You don't live in a flat with a privy out back. You don't have to go to the Harrison Public Baths for a shower, do you? No. You have it in your own house. You can flush the toilet.
Upstairs.
Upstairs. Okay, sure. I mean, I grew up in a house with 10 people in one bathroom. Upstairs.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And somehow we managed. Well, I'll tell you how we managed. When I was small, they would bathe me in the kitchen, shut the door, and in a basin, and it was called a proletarian sponge.
A proletarian sponge?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, so you're going to read us one of your poems now?
No, I didn't bring anything, but I am going to read something of what I thought about when I read this. Okay, I'm talking about equality of voice here and giving your voice authenticity, and something about the translation of that from the corporate world, which doesn't come out the way we wanted it to come out. So then I started creative imitation, rhetoric of imitation, narrative that rewrites oral narratives. Omi stories, that was my grandmother who raised me. Mother stories. There's a great story here. My grandmother told me. I think I would just tell you the story and then we probably end it here. The priests who were in the seminary in her village in Yugoslavia would be farmed out to every family for dinner. So the poor people, beans and potatoes, that's what they had. The rich people, being cheap, did the same thing. So these poor people young men were flatulent. And one of them was quite the character, so he hid under Mother Superior's bed.
Wait, is he a priest?
No, he was an acolyte. He was going to be a priest.
Oh, okay.
Member of this, no. And he was going to shorten her sheets or something like that, but she came in early. He jumped under the bed, and unfortunately, nature called. And being simple times, she thought it was a monster of some sort, ran out of the hall, and the young man jumped out the window and ran for his life. So I thought that was
that's
very telling.
How do you mean? What do you mean telling?
Lots of noises, as you have here in the studio.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But not that kind.
Different kind.
So I heard these stories all my life, and then I thought, well, I'm going to
So are you putting each story into a poem, capturing the essence of them?
I'm trying to capture the moment, and maybe give some historical background because things have changed.
Yeah.
But some things not. There's still home sewing.
There's still what, sorry?
Home sewing, people taking stuff home to work on in the factory.
Yeah.
But so it is the same and it's not the same. As I said, 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Okay, so here we are. Here you are. We got a couple of minutes left, and you've got this fabulous perspective.
Well, I've written about 3/4 of the book. I'm in the middle of editing it and just refining it and making sure that people understand what it is that I'm saying. I'm describing something of a time. We can't bring our 21st century sensibilities into some of the early. My mother came here in 1924. It was a different world.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, because of your whatever I said a minute ago, where do you think we're going? Here we are. It's very different today than it was in 1924. Yes. Where do you think we're going to be in another few dozen years?
Goodness gracious. What with technology spreading and changing and growing, will we not learn to use our thumbs? Because we're texting, or you will keep your thumb, but you won't keep your baby finger. I think it's all to the good. I think it's all to the good. The world's opening up, and we can share.
Because, there's so many people that are paranoid about conspiracy theories, Illuminati gonna kill all the people, and stuff like that. Aliens gonna invade.
I know that, and for them it's true, not for me. And I would hope that the majority of people would look forward to this change.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned how to type on a manual typewriter with no letters on the keys. Now I use a computer, a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
I could do it. Anybody can do it. I keep in touch with all my kids. I have 5 of them, 9 grand, and 14, too soon to be 15 great grand. And I keep in touch with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do that in the old days. Don't tell me that's not wonderful.
So it's another, it's like, I know it's like when people are, they're trying to download the movie that hasn't even been released yet, and their computer freezes up because their bandwidth is tightened up, and they curse.
I yell at my computer all the time. Sometimes it works.
Okay, well, Marianne, great to meet you and great to have you on the show today.
You should get her email.
Yeah, and so let's leave people, if you like, with some contact information if they want to get in touch and maybe get a copy of the book once it's finally
Marianne
done.
Gold.
Yeah.
Writing Woman _99 at yahoo.com.
Okay, that's long. Is it Marianne? We better spell that.
No, you don't have to put Marianne Gold at all. That's my name.
Yeah. No, we just want, so. Okay.
Writing Woman _
Yeah.
99.
Right.
At.
Yep.
Yahoo.com.
Yahoo.com. Okay.
I got that quite a while ago, and I thought Writing Woman was so unique.
That's a great one.
And
that's why you managed to score
sent it back to me saying no.
Taken. Put an underscore in there and take number 99.
That's what I did. And that's exactly what I did.
Great.
Okay, Marianne. Well,
okay,
thanks for doing this.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a great show. And Donna, thanks for bringing your students on today. And
absolute pleasure.
Let me just say that I owe it all to Donna. I really do, because I would have just, sulked at home. And then she brought it out.
Such an honor. I'm so lucky. I really scored with this class, and I'm hoping for new students, and please just be good. That's all I ask.
Well, because
you have a tough act to follow.
Marianne, you were going to say something there?
No.
Oh, okay. So, and you're starting that in September, right? So people can get in touch with you and September 19th enroll for September, get their book written.
Exactly. They can even go online and register for it right now.
Where do they do that?
It's on the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies website.
Yeah.
If they go to my website, kakonged.com.
Kakonge.
KAKONGED.com.
Yep.
That's my Donna magazine site.
Okay.
And from that site, they'll see the advertisement for self-publishing around the world.
Right.
If they click on that link, they can register online easily, or they can either go down to the office at 158 St. George Street, close by St. George Station.
Yes.
And they can register in person as well.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, Donna. Well, thanks for bringing your students in today, and thanks for
Thank you,
co-hosting.
for giving us. I really want to thank you. Thank you, Lamar. Thank you, Anne-Marie. You know, thank you for giving us this time to be able to talk about what everybody is doing and to be able to talk about my course. ThatChannel.com has been absolutely fantastic to me. I totally recommend it to absolutely anybody who wants to be able to tell their story and have a chance to meet Hugh and Sandra, who's usually here, who I miss. So yeah, I don't do Sandra's job very well.
Well, I think you did a great job today, and it was, as we talked about, it was probably perfect synchronicity that you were here to co-host today with your own
I miss
class.
Sandra. Next time I come back, I want Sandra here.
Well, she'll be here on Tuesday.
Okay, well,
and
that's too soon.
Well, that's when the next Liquid Lunch is going to be, next Tuesday, right here. So
For me, I will watch it.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
Hope you all do, and so we'll see you then.
Okay.
From ThatChannel.com, and we're going to take you out with Dolly Parton one more time.
Wonderful. She deserves an encore. She deserves an encore. Great voice that woman has. Okay.
Today as I was walking in the fields just down the way, I sat down on a fallen log to pass the time away. And as I looked around me, the more that I did look, the more I realized that I was viewing God's coloring book. I saw a golden ray of sunlight, a silver drop of dew, a soft white floating cloud sailing across the sky blue, a yellow dandelion, a pretty evergreen, and some red and orange flowers growing wild along the streams. And the more I look around me, and the more that I do look, the more I realize that I am viewing God's coloring book. The grayness in an old man's hair, the pink in baby's cheeks, the blackness in a stormy sky, the brown and fallen leaves, and the multicolored rainbow stretched out across the sky, and the purple haze at sunset just before the night. And the more I look around me, and the more that I do look, the more I realize that I am viewing God's coloring book. Then I turn my face toward the sky and say the silent prayer. And though God doesn't speak to me, I see Him everywhere. He is all around me, He's everywhere I look, and each new day is but a new page in God's coloring book. Each new day is but a new page in God's coloring book.